made it back up the spiral stairs just in time. The heavy marsh fog that threatened to swallow the watchtower earlier has completely dissipated, leaving the sky incredibly crisp. It's amazing how a sudden shift in the wind can scrub the entire atmosphere clean, revealing everything that was hiding behind the mist. The stars look so sharp tonight, they almost seem close enough to touch, like brilliant diamonds pinned to a velvet sheet that is gently rippling in the dark. The background melody drifting up from the lower courtyard musicians matches the mood perfectly tonight. It has this slow, cyclical rhythm that sounds less like an engineered song and more like the natural respiration of the castle itself as it settles down for the evening. I've just been sitting here on my stool, matching my breathing to the music, watching that exact same amber speck above the jagged mountain crag. It hasn't shifted its position by a single millimeter, but the pale blue corona surrounding it seems to be pulsing in perfect synchronization with the low chords of the music. I spent the last hour unrolling a massive tapestry that was tucked away inside a cedar chest under the floorboards. It's not a paper chart or a leather ledger. It's a map woven entirely out of silver thread and dyed wool, crafted by a guild of blind weavers over 3 generations ago. They didn't use their eyes to map the sky. They used their ears. They sat right here on this stone balcony during the warm summer months, listening to the delicate, high-pitched whistling of the upper winds as they whipped through the hollow brass tubes of the older telescopes. To those weavers, every single quadrant of the night sky had a distinct sonic signature. A sharp whistling breeze meant a crowded cluster of stars, while a low, hollow drone indicated an empty pocket of space, a celestial desert where nothing lived. When you run your fingers across the silver embroidery, you can feel the texture of the constellations. The valleys are deep and smooth, while the heavy mountain peaks are dense and knotted. I found a small patch near the western border where the silver thread is completely unraveled, leaving a bare, frayed patch of dark wool. It corresponds perfectly with the exact location of our mysterious amber light. It makes me wonder if the weavers knew that a spot would eventually open up there, or if the thread simply grew tired of holding the shape of an empty sky and decided to snap, making room for whatever new mystery was waiting to be born. There is a strange law in the old cartography books regarding spaces that cannot be defined by standard measurement. They call them the silent latitudes. If a navigator sailed into a region where the stars didn't match the Grand Imperial Atlas, they were legally required to stop keeping a written logbook. They had to hand the inkwell over to the ship's cook or a common deckhand, someone completely uneducated in geometry, and allow them to describe the landscape using nothing but everyday, emotional language. The high scholars believed that if a trained mind tried to force logic onto an illogical place, it would drive them mad, whereas a simple person would just accept the strangeness as a regular part of the journey and keep moving forward without fear. I've always loved that idea. It takes a massive amount of pressure off of our observations up here. We don't always have to find an equation to explain why a light is burning where it shouldn't be. Sometimes the most scientific thing we can do is just sit quietly, look out the window, and admit that we don't have the faintest idea what we are looking at. There's a profound kind of freedom in letting go of the need to be correct all the time. It lets the mind breathe. The rosemary oil I mixed into the lamp fuel earlier is starting to heat up now, casting this incredibly faint, herbal fragrance into the drafts of the room. It blends beautifully with the cool, stony smell of the masonry and the ancient, earthy aroma of the wool tapestry on the table. It's the kind of atmosphere that makes your eyelids feel incredibly heavy, like weights made of smooth river stone are gently pressing down on them, urging you to just let go of the day's worries. I keep thinking about that old watchman Orestes from the ledger we read last time, the one who left his gold thumbprint on the page before vanishing from the archives. I managed to find a small footnote in a completely unrelated tax document from a neighboring village, dated about 5 years after his final entry in our tower. It mentioned an old man who lived alone in a small stone hut at the base of the broken mountain, who refused to use candles or lanterns at night. The villagers claimed that his small home was always illuminated by a soft amber glow that seemed to emanate directly from the cracks in his wooden window shutters, even when the sky was pitch black and the moon was completely hidden behind storm clouds. They thought he was a sorcerer, or perhaps someone who had smuggled a fragment of a fallen star out of the royal treasuries. But the tax collector noted that the old man was completely gentle, spending his days planting wild plum trees along the rocky paths and never asking for anything from anyone. He didn't seem lonely at all. He spoke to the trees as if they were old friends, and he always kept his face turned up toward the summit of the peak, as if he were listening to a conversation that nobody else could hear. I think Orestes didn't get lost in the dark at all. I think he just decided to change his perspective. Instead of staring up at a mystery through a narrow brass tube from 40 feet above the ground, he chose to walk right up to the base of it, to live inside its shadow and let its light become the foundation of his everyday life. There's a beautiful kind of courage in that, dropping your instruments, leaving your titles behind, and simply walking toward the thing that fascinates you the most, without needing to prove anything to the rest of the world. The music down below is slowing down even further now, the chords extending into long, lingering notes that seem to hang in the air for an eternity before drifting out into the valley. And the sky is so perfectly clear that the stars actually look like they are vibrating to the music, pulsing in a slow cosmic rhythm that has been playing since long before this watchtower was built, and will keep playing long after the stones crumble back into dust. We try so hard to make our mark on the world, to write our names in heavy books and build monuments out of bronze and stone, but the universe already has its own tapestry woven, and we are just small, delicate threads moving through the design. You don't need to solve the riddle of the amber light tonight. You don't need to finish mapping the silent latitudes or worry about the stars that are slowly drifting apart in the northern crown. Right now, the watchtower is safe. The music is soft and the night sky is holding perfectly still above our heads. Let the coordinates fade away. Let the old geometric lines dissolve into the shadows of the room. Tell me, if that steady amber light out there is actually a bridge leading to a place we have never dreamed of, would you want to find the map that leads to it? Or would you rather walk into the blank spaces without a guide? Till next time.